Hey there, welcome to day 172, and we are reading Acts chapter 6 today. And so here we see that the body of believers has grown in number quite a bit. And so we have this group that are actually the Greek-speaking Jews, the Hellenists, and they are complaining because their widows aren't getting the right distribution of supplies, basically. And so what the apostles decide is they're getting so large that it's nearly impossible for the 12 apostles to minister to all of these different people, as well as preach the gospel. And so here's where we see the first, basically, deacons appointed. And so at your church, you might have deacons, you might have overseers. These are the people that are basically in leadership under the pastors who help shepherd the people, help pastor alongside of the actual pastors or preachers. And we see the qualifications that we're looking for in people who are to be in this role. And so it says that they are to be of good repute, so of good reputation, and that they're full of the Holy Spirit and wisdom. So this isn't just raise your hand if you can help out. These are people that the body of believers where you are worshiping or serving, they would have prayed about these people. They would have made sure that these people were upstanding as much as they could before putting them in this position. And so here that we see that it says in chapter 6, verse 4, it says, but we will devote ourselves to prayer and to the ministry of the word. So basically, this is the apostle saying, okay, y'all help us out with this part so that we can devote ourselves to this part of the ministry. And we see who they chose here. It says they chose 7 people to serve. And one of those that we're going to see in more detail is Stephen. And it says, Stephen, a man full of faith and of the Holy Spirit. And then it names the other 6. So we can see that Stephen is special just with his description that falls behind his name. And it says they set before the apostles, and they prayed and laid their hands on them. So there is a special service that took place. This was prayed about. These are people that they wanted to make sure could do the job and do the job well and in a spiritual manner. Well, of course, Stephen as a standout, it says in verse 8 that he's full of grace and power. He was doing great wonders and signs among the people. And of course, this causes a dispute with one of the synagogues. And so they started to dispute with Stephen, basically started arguing, but they could not withstand the wisdom and the spirit with which he was speaking. So basically, they weren't winning. And when they weren't winning, they decided to create more tension by stirring up, creating lies about Stephen, as well as stirring up things that he wasn't saying, but they were acting like he was saying. And so we've seen this, I'm sure, happen before, either in groups that we are in circles with, or it could be at our job. And unfortunately, it could even be at our churches. If we've ever seen something like this, we know that people will let their human nature take over and their sinful nature take over and cause this dissension to happen. And it just says in verse 12, they stirred up the people and the elders and the scribes, and they came upon him and seized him and brought him before the council. And they set up false witnesses. But in verse 15 it says, and gazing at him, all who sat in the council saw that his face was like the face of an angel. And whether this means it was bright and glowing or just means that it was at peace, we're not exactly sure from this verse specifically. But it did say that he was being prepared. Basically, it's telling us he's being prepared for one of the greatest sermons that we're going to see in the Bible in this next chapter of Acts. It's a very long piece, so we're breaking it up into parts, but it's very famous, Stephen's speech or sermon, and so we're going to be reading that over the next few days. So as you finish up reading today, consider, where you serve and who is in leadership there, or if you're in leadership or wanting to be in leadership. Do you meet these qualifications? Do you have a good reputation? Are you full of the Holy Spirit and wisdom? And if that's not something that you see for yourself, then pray that the Holy Spirit will guide you and convict you in those areas where you need to change, so that you can be set apart from the rest of the group and become a leader in the church. So, hope you have a great one today, and I'll see you next time.